Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, and yes, you've read the title, it's time for another Not List, aka an episode of These Things Suck, a format where I, my neck vein Jeremy, take a whistle-stop tour around the film industry, find things that rustle the coals betwixt our cheeks, and make content for you to devour, consume, and hopefully enjoy. Lucky you. And today, we have got an absolute chef kiss of a double-dick donger, because we're going to be talking about prequels. Oh yes, what joy. Film prequels are always going to be projects that people approach with hesitation, because it's very rare that a film closes with the viewer asking, but what happened before all of the cool things that I just watched? Especially when the flick itself likely detailed a lot of the characters' origins and prime motivations. Still, when these prequel films are handled properly, they can be truly amazing. They can offer character motivations you didn't even know were there. You can have setups to events that maybe you didn't see transpire in the original film and now have explanation as to why they are the way that they are. It can be a good thing. But unfortunately, for every one or two brilliant prequel, we get about 10 that are about as fun as wading through chest-high catsick. These features actively took away from the source material, muddying the waters going forward with tenuous links and torturous acting. In fact, some of the films here are so bad that many fans simply denied their existence in the greater canon of the franchise, making for film prequels that weren't just terrible, they absolutely, totally sucked. Oh, and on a side note, before we begin, I'm not going to be talking about the Star Wars prequel films because that would be, to be honest, like shooting Gungans in a barrel, a bit too easy. So what I'm going to do is wipe my low-hanging fruit over the faces of some different IPs instead. Explosion! Oh, Wolverine, how I both love and loathe thee. When huge jacked man took up the mutton chops of the character, it felt like the final puzzle piece had slid into place, and that puzzle was of God giving you a monstrous thumbs up. It just fit perfectly, and as time went on, Jackman proved to the world over that not only was he right for the character, he pretty much was the character. Come his final actions in Logan, cinema goers everywhere were moved to tears at how fitting an end it was for his tenure, but it wasn't the only time that we wept at his actions, because as much as we want to forget it, X-Men Origins Wolverine exists. Goodie. This film was an unmitigated disaster, not only providing some absolutely terrible visual effects and acting, but also sullying the name of Deadpool so badly that it would take years of persistent effort from Ryan Reynolds to undo that damage. Outside of an admittedly pretty decent opening montage, the film feels like reheated sick being piped into your veins through an IV. The dialogue is as stilted as hard cheese, the action cuts so many times that you think that the film is afraid that you'd notice how greasy all of the visuals look, and aside from learning that Wolverine hates baths and had a family once, you learn nothing of his character whatsoever, turning the origins part of the title into absolute bunk. Bunk, I say. An origin story should feel like it sets things in motion for future events, but instead, this film felt like a literal interpretation of its own ending, a bullet to the head of the character that stopped any progress dead in its tracks. So as I have stated many times over across my years here at What Culture, I absolutely adore John Carpenter's The Thing. I do believe it to be one of my favourite sci-fi horror movies, and say it with me, kids, and Joe. Come on, Joe, say it with me, just this once. Come on, mate, just this one. Just this one, please. Don't make me beg. Please, mate.
No,
Come on, please.
No.
Please. Fine. Of all time. Seriously, no matter what I'm doing, if somebody asks me, hey Baldy, you want to watch that movie with the head crabs scarier than Half-Life, then you best believe that I'm going to drop everything in order to get my peepers on those creepers. Yeah, it's why I'm not allowed to hold my friend Mark's baby anymore. This film, under Carpenter's masterful direction, was an incredibly tense, well-paced and thoroughly unnerving affair, utilising animatronics and prosthetics in order to create visual effects that feel terrifyingly tangible. And so when the 2011 version of The Thing announced that it was going to be doing the same, it piqued my interest somewhat. I knew in my heart of hearts that it probably wouldn't be the same, but I, alongside many others, was willing to give this film a shot. It turns out, however, that the only shot we should have given this film was one to the back of the bloody head, because this this film is an unmitigated disaster, being somehow both an unauthorized fan remake and a prequel. If you're confused by that, it's because of the fact that it follows nearly the exact same story beats as John Carpenter's classic, but does neither of the two things of being a prequel or a remake incredibly well at all. In fact, it did this to the original source material. Have some of that, have some of that. And when it wasn't doing that, it was basically poking a finger at you saying, do you remember this bit? Do you remember this bit? Well, here it is, but worse. Ooh. The only problem is, though, is that the film whispering those "do you remember these bits" into my ear came with a stinky halitosis breath of ham, stinky rotten ham, because clearly that's what the actors have been eating, because my lord, the acting in this film is bad. I've never seen people look this neutral about having their bodies warped and shaped into monstrosities, and it all comes down to the fact that despite its promise to keep things practical, the effects on show here are anything but. Therefore, we have to contend with the bane of all horror films, acting against something that isn't even there, resulting in a forced fear that just never translates well. And this is the thing, it's a problem that we too have on this show as well, because Joe isn't actually here, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed. It means that sometimes our skits have a bit of a disconnected feeling. For example, I could ask him, how's your day been, mate?
Well, it's been alright, mate. Got up, had a balanced breakfast, nice cup of coffee, got to work, and it's a beautiful day outside.
Oh God! That's disgusting! That's disgusting, you perv! You perv. I don't even know if that was the right response. He's going to record his stuff separately from this and can make me look like an absolute idiot. To its credit, the film does try to get clever with its revelation that those assimilated don't take things like teeth filings and earrings with them, so it becomes an identifier, but that's just one positive in a slurry of dross, showcasing that despite a much higher budget, you can't buy quality. So out of all of the IPs in the known existence of the film universe, I cannot think of any less deserving of a prequel than the fucking Flintstones. The iconic family unit was as established as all of the rock-based puns that they all love to spout, and it felt more than a bit cheeky to take a look at what came before, especially seeing as they were fucking cavemen at the literal brink of human existence. Like, what actually could come before a series focusing on some half-fish people trying to live on land? I've got Love Island for that, mate. I don't need that. Anyway, what we did get was an absolute abomination known as Viva Rock Vegas, a film that within the first 30 seconds made me cringe into a singularity with its title splash of Universal. And then I screamed in terror at what I could only imagine is what would happen if Morph the Claymation series operated on even less of a budget and was directed by Tim Burton. That's absolutely terrifying. That looks like it was designed by Hellraiser because it is absolutely disgusting to look at and looks like it's being perpetually stabbed. However, it's not as terrifying as the narrative, which flows like thick soup through a sieve, dripping moments of action but then leaving audiences hanging as they watch painful puns and pointless scenes designed to solely fill out the runtime. In fact, as a comedy film, it's at complete odds with the genre that it's in. It aims to be all light-hearted and family-friendly, but deals with some pretty dark and depressing themes like getting value from wealth and also the divide between the rich and the poor. I guess if you look at it a different way, these parts of the film could be classed as a social rockumentary. And still, that joke was funnier than half the fucking film. As soon as the gang arrives in Rock Vegas, you can pretty much just write the rest of the plot yourself. They fall out, there are misunderstandings, moments of reflection, a plan to steal all of Wilma's money. In fact, actually, I'm just going to stop myself here. What actually happened to Wilma's money at the end of all of this? Like, at the end, they got married, right? She's from an uber-rich family. I mean, her mum doesn't like Fred, fair enough, but the dad really likes him, so why doesn't she inherit all of the money and stuff like that? And they always seem to be presented in the cartoon show as being just like on the breadline, just scraping to get by. She's really rich. Why is that never... I'm thinking way too hard about Viva Rock Vegas. I'm thinking harder about this film than the fucking scriptwriters did. You know what, screw it. I am not talking about this film and putting more effort into this description than the film did into itself. Viva Rock Vegas can rock off. You kind of have to feel sorry for Alien vs. Predator Requiem, don't you? I mean, being both a sequel to the original Alien vs. Predator films and also a prequel to the Alien franchise, it kind of sits in the middle of both as a awkward middle child, just working with hand-me-down plots and jump scares while having none of the budget to do anything interesting, meaning that it gets largely ignored by the public and especially its parent IPs. Still though, maybe we shouldn't feel too sad for the film, as it is, on every single level, complete and utter dog dick. And it's one of the few films in history that I know of that chose not to spend a single penny on scene lighting because my god, it is so dark, it's like watching a close-up of a Bourneville chocolate bar. I get that they were trying to make the film moody, but not being able to actually tell which rubber suit is hitting which is kind of a huge detriment to the film. Surprisingly though, when it comes to lighting the human idiots of the piece, things are at once significantly brighter, but also somehow much more dull because I hate each and every one of them, and I couldn't wait for their I belong in a B-movie slasher film personalities to be ended with gusto. So much time is spent on the human element of this film, and I can honestly say, hand on heart, that I have no idea why they're doing that, because that is not what I paid my ticket for. I just wanted to see two alien species kick the piss out of each other, not Johnny No Nuts talking about love interests and bullying. Did you know the fact that there's a subplot within this human storyline as well? Of course you didn't, because no one cares, because all people want to see are the two actual stars of the film, aka Dickmouth and Crawmerax the Very Vincible, just go to town on one another. But no, that's not what we got. Add to this an abysmal wink wink nudge nudge effect of repeating lines from previous films in both franchises, which feels like you're being winded each and every time by the sheer heavy-handed nature of it all, and you've got a film that both sucks and blows. Brilliant. And there we go, my friends. That was another Not List, aka an episode of These Things Suck. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can talk to me over on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0, or you can swing by Instagram where I'm at RetroJ_Insta, where I do lots of like Warhammer modeling stuff and things like that. And if you want to come and appreciate the paintwork that's on this table, then that is the place to do it, my friend. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Even though today I displayed a huge amount of anger and Jeremy is now throbbing to a worrying extent, actually, I hope that you do realise that this is just like a hyperbolic nature that I'm putting on for this specific format. I hate anger. I hate holding on to that emotion. I hate going out there with just feeling riled up by other things. And I encourage you to do the same and try to let go of things if you are at all possible, if you're at all able to do that. Because I just want you to go out there and live a healthy and happy life, all right? You are a massive, massive legend. You deserve love, happiness, and respect like we all do as human beings. So let's build some bridges instead of burning them, all right? Big love from me to you, my friend. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.